Hello and welcome to Bolt Action Reloading. In today's video we're going to show you a cool tool that's going to ensure that your scope is mounted level without having to read the bubble. Stick around. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here and you'd like to see how I and the rest of you here make our group smaller, start now by subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell icon. That way you get notified when I post new videos and you won't miss anything. In today's video, we're going to talk about a very cool tool that one of my subscribers told me about. That tool is the Arisaka Optic Leveler, which you can see before you on your screen. Depending on what kit you order, a 2 or 3 piece optic leveling system that simply doesn't need a bubble level. And if you stick around for the whole video, you see how we're going to actually be able to ensure that this scope is mounted level without using the bubble level. So the first tool you're probably going to want when you mount your scope is a level, right? Well, not today, guys. Obviously, that level will be slightly inappropriate. The one on the top might be more the appropriate size. However, you're all probably familiar with some of the tools available from Wheeler that have your optic leveling system. If you're like me and you've been aggravated by using some of those tools, try to ensure that your rifle is level prior to actually mounting your scope, after your scope is level, trying to match the two bubbles. I'm not going to say that it's difficult, but at the very least, let's say it's annoying. Things don't always go perfectly, unless maybe you're not me. If you're like me and you're never really sure, you're never really happy with how that scope is, today's tool is for you. First, let's introduce you a little bit to the tool. I believe the pronunciation is Arisaka. If it's not, forgive me, but the Arisaka Optic Leveler is a reasonably priced tool for leveling scopes in rings or one-piece mounts. The basic requirements of it is your scope has to have a flat mounting surface on the bottom. If it's circular or sideways, I believe it should still work all the same, but basically it has to have a flat along the bottom, as well as you have to have a flat mount surface below where your turrets are going to be. Had we not actually bought this rail, it would have been more difficult, but I was going to buy this rail anyway, and so it's going to work perfectly to demonstrate exactly how quick and easy this scope leveling system is to use. This particular product actually is the 3-piece, so it means it comes with both the large and small wedges as well as the base. There is a slightly more inexpensive kit that just comes with a smaller wedge in the base, and you could buy the larger piece separately. However, if you think you're going to use it, I would recommend just picking the whole kit up, depending on where you're procuring it from. Right now, you can buy the entire kit on Amazon for somewhere around $35. You can buy just the small wedge and the base for $25. I didn't see the large wedge on Amazon, but if you go to Arisaka's website, you can actually procure that separately for around $12, but the entire kit from them is around $37, give or take, just so you guys have an idea. Now, in our particular case today, I've already done a lot of the hard work, but we're going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can get a better idea of exactly what you have to do. So let's change views real quick. Hopefully from the view you can see now, you can see obviously our scope is nowhere close to level. Don't be fooled, I have done a little bit of the hard work already. Now, when I say hard work, I've actually decided where the rings needed to be mounted for my particular scope and my particular situation. And in particular, where you're going to actually start to use the leveling system is where you have the bottom rings torqued down, and you've already taken out the slack on both of your ring set to have basically an even gap on both sides of the ring, and the scope is still able to be turned. Though it's not easily turned, certainly with a little bit of torque, you can actually turn it. We have our flat base that we're going to need to be able to use our leveling system, and both of these, since the gap is set, we're pretty much ready to go. This particular scope is similar to this one, as it has a flat on one side and not the other, so we might be able to use this from either side, but in my particular opinion, it's going to be easier to use from the other side. The directions do not tell you which side you have to use it from. If it wasn't rounded on the opposite side of the turret, then I don't think it would matter which side we picked. We're actually going to turn our rifle end for end so you guys can see it a little bit better as we use it. So hopefully you guys can tell that we've exaggerated our scope to the opposite side. And the first thing we're going to do is get our base. We're going to use our base. We're going to put it on our rail, essentially directly below where our turret is. We're going to be able to over-rotate it coming towards the camera, and so we want to make sure that we push it in and only level it towards there. We're going to use our small wedge because we don't have a large gap, ensuring we're somewhere in the center. We're going to work that in. We're actually going to rotate it. So adjust it a little bit. Hopefully you guys can see a little bit better. We're going to go ahead and over-rotate it a little bit too far to the other side. Push our wedge in until it's level. And we'll notice as we rock it back and forth that after we get it so far that we actually aren't going to even be able to rock the scope back and forth. If we had the scope ring super loose when we pulled this out, it would move. But since we have these rings reasonably tight, we really don't have to worry about it. You'll notice as it's pushed in, and since it really doesn't rotate any longer, we're going to know at that point when the wedge is as far in as it can go and the scope isn't going to rotate anymore back against its flat, that our scope should be leveled. Hopefully you guys can see right under here that all the space has been taken up, our wedge is in as far as we can get it, and that flat is perfectly flat. And seeing that we can't really rotate our scope any longer, we know that our scope is actually mounted true and level to the scope base. No need to use the level. At this point, we're going to torque down one ring just to make sure it's not going to move any longer, and then we'll know we can remove our scope leveling system and finish the job. So guys, just a little bit more quick information. The small wedge is going to allow you to have a level of scope from a clearance of anywhere from 0.190 inches all the way to 0.730 inches. The large wedge is going to go from 0.680 to 1.20 inches. So obviously a little bit of overlap between the two. If you're like me and you change scopes and move things around a lot, I was happy to have the kit that had both, so I knew I was going to be able to use it for every single situation that I had. One other thing of note, I don't want you guys to think that you're going to be able to go out there, buy the cheapest scope on the face of the earth, and this is going to magically make it level. If the manufacturing of the process doesn't actually have this level, simply having this level isn't going to make your scope level. Frankly, using a bubble level in that case isn't going to make it work either. The specific note from Arisaka is the use of the optic leveler makes the assumption that the scope's turret cluster and reticle are aligned, which may not be the case with poorer quality scopes. So, if that applies to you, draw your own conclusions, but like I said, if your turret and that aren't aligned, there's not a very good chance that your actual scope caps are going to be aligned if you wanted to throw your bubble level on it anyway. Certainly one of the things to consider. In this particular case, in a matter of just a couple minutes, if I wasn't fumbling with a camera, I would have had this thing easily leveled without the use of bubble level. I'm certain if I wanted to move this, I would be able to put it right back where I wanted to very, very quickly. If this seems a little off kilter to you, the actual commenter that told me that this system even existed was commenting on a video which I'll put your card up for now, which is actually my spur mount. Now you guys can argue quality up one side and down the other. However, this spur mount is a $400 one-piece scope base. It's a very nice system. I like it, but basically this particular feature is incorporated into that scope mount. When I looked this up, that's why I was so interested to tell you guys about it. I certainly would have had it on my bench a lot sooner had I known about it in advance. Certainly one of the reasons why I like my community here and appreciate all your comments in the comments section below. In case you really care, this particular angle is machined at 11-degree surface. The bottoms of these slides are mounted at that exact 11 degrees, so you're going to let you put a perfect gap in between those two surfaces. That is very nice machined aluminum. For the price you're paying for it, it's a very neat tool. It works very well, very easy to use, and I'm sure that I'm going to be pleased with the results. So even if you guys aren't into mounting your own scopes, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to put those in the comments section below. If you liked the video today and you're not subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, turn the notifications on so you'll get notified when I post next week's video. And until then, stay safe in small groups, everyone. And hey, stay level.